I was at a local grocery store just a few blocks away from my house. The scent of fresh produce mixed with the faint smell of cleaning supplies hung in the air. I was minding my own business, standing in line, feeling the cool breeze from the air conditioning on my skin. I was literally next, about to check out and finally head home. That's when it happened. This woman appeared out of nowhere, cutting right in front of me. At first I thought, okay, whatever. She only had 3 items in her hands, a small bag of apples, some bread, and a carton of milk. I let out a quiet sigh. I was willing to let it go because, hey, 3 items. But then she turned and looked at me, not just a glance. No, it was that look. You know the one. The look that scans you from head to toe, taking in the fraying hem of your jeans, the t-shirt that had seen better days, the slight smudge of dirt on your shoes like she was silently judging everything about you. Yeah, that look. As if I was the one doing something wrong. I could feel my heart rate pick up. The frustration bubbled up inside me, igniting a spark I didn't know was there. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks, my mind racing ahead like it was trying to build a strategy in real time. And that's when it happened. My intrusive thoughts, they clocked in. I took a step closer to her, careful not to make a scene, and just dropped my basket right on her foot. It wasn't even that heavy, really. A thud reverberated through the air, and in that moment, oh, it felt so satisfying. She flinched, and I swear I heard her gasp. I looked at her, allowing a slight smile to creep onto my face. Oh, sorry, I said. Casual as can be, just a little too sweet. I then picked up my basket like nothing happened, a small victory warming my chest. I placed my items on the counter, the cashier watching with wide eyes as if she could see the little spark of rebellion I had just lit within myself. The moment felt electric, vibrant with the thrill of doing something so petty yet so rewarding. As the cashier scanned my items, I could feel the weight of the woman's gaze burning into the back of my head. I tried to resist the urge to look back at her. I could imagine her fury, a storm brewing behind her pretty face. The cashier gave me the total, and I fished out my wallet, throwing in a couple of coins that had been clinking around in the bottom of my purse. Suddenly, as I was grabbing my bags, I heard her voice. "Excuse me." I turned to see her standing there, fists clenched at her sides. "You think that was funny?" I raised an eyebrow, trying to look unfazed. "Oh, I thought it was just a little mistake." My tone was overly casual, perhaps a little too casual. I could feel my heart pounding, the adrenaline piercing through the back of my mind, but I held my ground. "A mistake. You dropped your basket on my foot on purpose," she shot back, her voice just above a whisper, full of venom. I shrugged, letting a small smile slip. "Could have been worse. I could have dropped it on your head." Was I being too bold? Yes. Did I care? Not in that moment, not when my intrusive thoughts were taking the stage and dancing wildly. She looked like she was ready to explode, her face turning a shade of red I had never seen before. "You have no manners," she spat out, her voice ringing through the store. In all honesty, I took a moment to drink in her reaction. The irritation, the sheer disbelief that I had dared to challenge her. But there was a part of me that wanted to let it go, to just walk away. Yet I couldn't. "Next time, maybe wait your turn," I said before turning to grab my bags, trying to keep that smirk off my face. The woman huffed, crossing her arms over her chest, making it very clear she was going to stick around for round 2. "People like you make me sick," she declared, her words sharp enough to slice through the air. But I looked back at her, feigning innocence. "People like me? You mean people who believe in basic manners?" Her eyes widened with disbelief. Oh, this was getting fun. We stood there in a mini standoff in the middle of the store. Customers were glancing over, and I could feel a mix of amusement and confusion rising among them. The cashier was trying not to laugh, her lips twitching slightly as she handled my transaction. I could hear the beeping of the scanner, steady and rhythmic, yet overshadowed by the tension between us. "You're a piece of work," she finally said, teeth clenched, trying to maintain her composure. I didn't miss a beat. "And you're a piece of something else. We can't all be perfect." As I turned to leave the checkout area, I felt the heat of her gaze on the back of my neck, like an invisible flame. I had violated her space, challenged her authority as a fellow shopper, and in a way had stepped into a bizarre duel of wills. I exited the store, the bell above the door jingling behind me, a sound that resonated with my little victory. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, illuminating the sidewalk. People moved about, lost in their own worlds, unaware of the tiny war that had just played out inside. As I walked home, I kept replaying the moment over and over in my head. The satisfaction of standing my ground, the rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins, and the memory of her face, a mixture of fury and disbelief. But then a small sliver of doubt crept in. Was I too harsh? Had I overstepped? As those thoughts began to surface, I shook my head, dismissing them. It was a shopping basket, after all. Just a series of groceries, meaningless items given meaning by our little encounter. As I arrived home, I set my bags down on the kitchen counter with a thud, the noise echoing off the walls. I poured myself a glass of water, the cool liquid refreshing against my lips. I pulled out the apples, the bread, and the milk, laying them across the counter. The sun shone through the window, casting a warm glow across the kitchen. As I began to put things away, my phone buzzed on the counter. I picked it up and saw a message from my friend Sarah. She had already heard about my little incident, presumably from someone who had witnessed it. "I heard you made a scene at the grocery store today. What happened?" A smile crept onto my face, and I started typing. "Just standing up for myself." Within moments, the 3 little dots signaled that she was replying. "Details. I want all the juicy bits." I hesitated for a moment, wondering how much to share. Should I keep it light, or give her the entire rundown, the battle of wits, the tense standoff? I decided on the latter. "Okay, here's the deal," I typed. I was about to check out when this woman cut in front of me. She had, 3 items, and I was cool with it at first. But when she turned to look at me, I felt this rage bubble up, I just dropped my basket on her foot. As I typed, I could feel that familiar sense of satisfaction lighting up my chest once again. Each word made my smugness rise, and I chuckled at the thought of her reaction. "Oh my gosh. You didn't," Sarah replied almost instantly. "That's wild." "Totally did," I typed back quickly, the words spilling out as the adrenaline rush stuck with me. Then we had a little showdown, and I might have told her she was a piece of work. "Classic," she replied, and I could almost hear her laughter through the screen. "You've got to tell me more later." After our exchange, I grabbed the bread and pulled it out of its bag, placing it in the bread box. My mind shifted away from the confrontation back to the mundane tasks of the evening. Yet every time I thought about the incident, a faint smile played on my lips. I could still see the shock on her face and hear the amazement in my voice. It was this absurd reminder of how far I'd come in standing up for myself. A little rebellion, a dash of courage, all manifesting through a shopping basket on a grocery store foot. Once the items were put away, I flopped down on my couch, letting out a small chuckle. Life is often boring, just going through the motions, but every once in a while, a moment like this breaks the monotony. A wild, impulsive decision igniting a spark of excitement in an otherwise straightforward day. I could almost imagine the stories that would come from this, an odd, funny little tale to share with friends and family. Maybe there's something to learn from this. Perhaps it's okay to stand up and not always blend into the background. Maybe life needs a little chaos sometimes, not too much, but just enough to make it colorful, quirky, and full of stories worth telling. As the sun set outside, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt lighter than I had in days. The whole affair made for a story that I could keep revisiting. In a world full of larger battles, perhaps this was just a small skirmish, but it was mine, and I owned it.